So today we are doing another live stream, starting our week with a Lego head piece divided with some other smaller Lego pieces as some kind of a brain and part of a skull that would be like underneath the proper Lego head. And for that, as always, we are going to use our Dragonhawk Fold Pro Year of the Horse at 2.5mm stroke and with 5 volts, around 5 volts. It could be a little bit higher, eventually going for 5.5 or eventually even 6, but mostly it will be on 5 volts, okay? Also attached to it will be our cartridge, our ballpoint pen cartridge, okay? We are going to attach this to our machine. Let me just, okay. We are going to attach that to our machine and just fire it up and just need to be started. So here, as always, I tend to start with the darkest areas, or at least from top to bottom, so I don't smudge the ink here. However, which is different, completely different from real tattooing, of course. However, I'm not going to start from the darkest areas, not for now. I'm just going to start from top to bottom, okay? So we are going to deal here with this top piece here, the fitting piece, and as always, I'm going to start with a really light layer. Most of the pieces I'm bringing here on live, I'm always trying to do something around like the realism realm, okay? So I always have to be really careful on how I place the tones. That is really the most important thing, is to be really careful on how to apply the tones, so I don't overdo in some areas and still creating a little bit of contrast around everything. Now I'm seeing here I need a little border to get that contrast that I was saying with this area that will be like fully black. So for now, I don't know if it's too bright or not. Let me just darken up a little bit more. Okay. Here we have a little bit darker on this edge, so I'm going to try to smooth here the gradients. And since this is like a cylindrical shape, it's supposed to have like some areas a little bit darker and others not so much. So I don't know if you can see properly, or if I could darken a little bit more so you guys can see more clearly the contrast. Okay. So right now I'm just going to the same movement as I would on lip shading. It's like pick and flick, starting on the border here, but also we want to darken up a little bit more, and for that we are cross-hatching, trying to hide the dot's direction. Also this way, I don't want to be I don't want the direction to be seen right here. So just going to hide it using this technique, this crosshatch technique. Okay. Thank you, Joshua. How you guys are doing on this lovely Monday? Now here we have a really dark lip here beneath this area, and we are going just for now to acknowledge this lip. Okay. And now you can go for the top part. Okay. We are going to leave this area here that it's like the border a little brighter for now, like without shading, and then we'll see if we need to do just a really light tone or not. But for now it will be like almost blank. To see if we need more contrast or if it is contrasty enough, because if we feel that we have enough contrast, I can still place here a couple of dots to fill it a little bit more. If we see that it hasn't that contrasty feel that we want to, then we just leave it blank, open, so it can create that sense of contrast with the rest of the image, right? Here we have a couple of markings, like more dark markings here and there. I'm not just going to dark a lot here or there, but I'm just going to place a little bit more shadow areas to acknowledge that there are texture, that this is not like clean. Also here we also have like a little markings here on the lighter area. Just being really careful so it doesn't really make a huge marking on the whole thing, because we want to keep this area lighter. And as I said, I was saying, I'm using the Dragonhawk Fold Pro tattoo machine for this, with a Stippling cartridge, with a ballpoint pen cartridge that I use for this stuff. Just going to darken up a little bit more right here. Okay, and I think this can sell a little bit better the whole thing, right? Now we are going for this really dark area here, and I left a little border without even touching it, so it can create that extra contrast between everything. And here it also has a little border that I'm going to, for now, offline and leave it as is. and just smoothing out the outline. Okay, yeah. And now we are going to fill this area that should be all black. Okay. When we are filling these large or larger areas, we are a little bit more comfortable doing that because we don't have the same concerns with the other areas that we have to be really careful applying the tones, because this will be, the point here is to be really dark. It won't be like complete 100% black, because that's not my point, that's not what I'm looking after here. I always want to see some few spaces here and there so you can see the dots. That's my point here. And now that we are coming close to the actual piece, we are going to now, yes, be a little more careful, because here we are going to start working on the fades. Okay, this still has to be dark, but we also have this thing that we have to start working on, the fading towards the proper piece. So always leaving a little bit behind so we can fade it out. Okay? Yeah. Just going to outline also this area that should be all black. Also here. Here you can already place here some light shadow, so we can go with that fade into from the black to the light parts of the piece. Working that fade will always help you that using a crossfade, so you have much more control on the areas you need to darken up, and it will be more uniform overall. Okay. Now here we have also this top area should be very light, so what we are going to do is just create a really light stippling around and leaving a little bit of an edge so it can breathe. And here we also have this area that should be almost all black. Okay. Now on the fitting pieces of the Lego, we have here some details that we will need to address, since they are also cylindrical. These are really small shapes, so you need to be really careful with all this. Okay. Just giving a little shade. On top of those parts. Now we can just overall do a little cross fading, cross hatching here and there. Here you also have like a more black area. And this simply applies to everything around here. Now this area here is a little bit darker as well. Okay. And do also that small light stippling, leaving that highlight border just to create an extra contrast here and there. Okay. Trying to dissolve this fade. Again on the light layer, and here we'll have a darker one. Again with a light layer here. Okay. Now the cast shadow from these indents. And now again another cross hatching on top of everything. This won't be like this in the end. This is just like a base layer, so I can work around for now. going to mark up this line, and again another parallel to that arc to create that division towards the skull. Okay, and this will be like blank. This small area will be certainly blank. Now we can start here with the eye. With the eye socket, let's say, not a proper eye. I guess this cartridge is over. Let's change it to a new one. So we remove this little tip that prevents the ink for drying out. Going to prime it around here, and that's good enough. Now here on the eye there's small subtleties concerning to the darks and the shadows and the light areas. That's what we are dealing with. It's not like fully black, the eye cavity. So we are not going to fill everything with 100% black. Yeah. Just a small light layer, and here some gradient from the cast shadow. here you also have a really high highlight that we are going to leave it as is. Not going to touch this. Just later on, if you need to, if we feel that's too much contrast, then we apply just a little light layer. Now inside of the nose, there we are going to fill it with black. And here we also have a little bit darker areas, since this is beneath the shell. I'm just going to outline a little bit here the teeth. When you open a new cartridge, sometimes it's really hard to get it to function properly. Sorry. Let me just take here just a minute just to respond to the call. Okay. Let's keep going. Here we have full black. in here, not a full black, but that's almost. So we are going to darken up a little bit more here, just going for the smooth transition. Okay. Now a light gradient. Cross hatching. Here we have some spot a little darker. So lightly we are going to try to bring that tone up. As well as this area should be a little bit more dark. Just bring a little bit more light to it. Let's tone down the teeth a little bit. Okay. Now going for the jaw, and here we also have like small highlights that we shouldn't touch around the teeth. So I'm just lightly outlining it so we don't mess up. And then below it we can start applying our tone. here giving a little bit of contrast between the jaw, so it doesn't look like all flat. Yeah. Now this area is way darker here, almost without any information. We don't want to make it like all black, but at least way darker than the rest. This cartridge is not working that well. Now these teeth will be a little bit darker. Because they are more hidden than the rest. Now let's keep going. This area should be also a lot blacker. in here it's not all black. We have around here like a mid-tone. Such, leaving here a little bit lighter, more open. Okay. And also here you're going to create a little highlight. And the rest will be also darker. Okay. This is the most time-consuming part because it's the human skull. It has a little wrinkles and we have to try to be most aware and most careful with those so it can be well represented, right? Okay. Going to leave also here a small break between everything. this area. And the same here as well. We are going to leave a little lip across here, just to create that boundary and that contrast. Okay, and now the rest will be all backed. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now let's go for this bottom part. This bottom part should be also, this is like beneath the head, so should be also a lot in shadow. Just refining the edge right now. Just going up a little bit more so I can work a little bit faster here in some areas. This top part on here should be a little darker than the rest. But also we have here a little highlight. Yeah. Now let's go for the eyes. Let me just lower down a little bit more. Here we have full black. Here are the lips as well, full black. Okay. me just replace this cartridge because this is simply not working. Some of them, I don't know why, but they come really come on. Okay, now we are going to deal here with the darks and highlights on this character, on this piece, starting as always with a light base. And this area should be darker. Okay. applying the light layer to the whole area. Let me just go up a bit more so I can push my head speed a little bit faster as well. Okay. Okay. It's starting to look into something already. Yeah. Hello. guess it starts to look a little bit better now. Okay. So How do you guys? Are you guys enjoying the project? I'm just about to finish. What you guys are thinking about this? I'm quite enjoying it. It was a fun little project here. Yeah, just doing another drop shadow. almost finished. Another study here. So, hope you guys have appreciated today's live. It was like this small project here, small study here. Tomorrow there's more, there's another live. For now, that's it. This was my live for Monday. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Tomorrow there's more, obviously. So, see you tomorrow. Have a nice Monday. And keep going. If you want to see a little bit more of this, you can reach my YouTube channel. There I have like a free stippling course on stippling. Well, it's a little bit more structured than this small ramblings that I'm always saying when I'm doing this kind of stuff. So you can, if you guys are interested in it, you can go there and see for yourself the full course. Also, if you are interested on this machine, it's a Dragonhawk Fold Pro Year of the Horse. You can go to their site, to Dragonhawk site, and I have also there a coupon code. It's Anxious Pokes 10 for 10% discount on your order. And this thing here is a cartridge. It's a ballpoint pen cartridge to be able to do this kind of stuff on paper. Okay, so